This book is debatably the reason that Doctor Who, Terminator, Looper, Back to the Future, and everything in between exists. And I'm gonna tell you about it. Now, I recently had a Grammy-nominated stream where I read through the first third of this book. It's The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, published in 1895. While not the first literary work to feature time travel, older examples include El Anacronopete in 1887 by Enrique Gaspar, and Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court in 1889, it is considered the work to have popularized the notion of time travel, especially within science fiction. Indeed, it is known as one of the earliest works of science fiction in general, with many calling H.G. Wells the father of the genre, with works such as The Invisible Man, The Island of Doctor Moreau, and perhaps his most well-known work, The War of the Worlds. In this video, I'll provide a quick summary for anyone who missed the stream, as well as provide my thoughts on the book so far.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Chapter 1 introduces the notion of time travel in a scene that is so tropey that it almost feels quaint, but that's only because it's been iterated on so many times. The protagonist, aptly named the Time Traveler, takes a cast of similarly vaguely named characters through the broad strokes of the concept. Concepts that us as a modern audience are already well familiar with, but back then, audiences certainly would not have been. They continue to discuss and debate the intricacies of time travel before the time traveler reveals that he has a small doodad that he says is a time machine. He offers to test it for the assembled guests, places it on the table, and activates it, and then it ostensibly zips off into the future. To the characters, it just disappears, but he insists that it did in fact go to the future. The other characters feel this sense of unease, distrust. They're not really sure about all this. However, the chapter ends with the time traveler revealing that he has almost finished a human-scale version, and that it should be done sometime next week.
Bill, what? Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Chapter 2 begins with the narrator, who is not the time traveler, arriving at the time traveler's house a week later for what is established to be a weekly dinner. However, when he arrives, the time traveler is not there. There are other assembled guests, and they just kind of chit-chat and gossip about this wacky time travel thing. Eventually, the time traveler does arrive, but he's battered and haggard and looks slightly older. That's called foreshadowing. The rest of the chapter consists of a bit of hemming and hawing before the time traveler finally agrees to tell his tale, insisting that he has been to the future and lived to return.
You've seized control of the Omega's ability to reset the day.
How do I control it?
You have to die.
Every day.
Until the Omega's destroyed.
This next chapter is almost exclusively the time traveler talking, relaying the first bits of his journey into the far-flung future. And it is in this chapter that we get one of the first descriptions ever of time travel. And it's honestly pretty beautiful. The time machine doesn't just appear in the future. It glides through the future. It actually travels. It sees the passage of time as a gorgeous time lapse around it as it speeds off into the unknown. The description is immaculate, and it becomes very clear why H.G. Wells is as revered as he is in terms of writing. Quote from chapter 3. You know, it's funny, I had a quote picked out that I wanted to read for this video, and then I just kind of started rereading the chapter because it's so beautiful, and I kind of found a quote that I like even better. The entire thing is great, but here's a snippet. I saw trees growing and changing like puffs of vapor. Now green, now brown, they grew, spread, shivered, and passed away. I saw huge buildings rise up, faint and fair, and pass like dreams. The whole surface of the earth seemed changed, melting and flowing under my eyes. The little hands upon the dials that registered my speed raced around faster and faster. Presently, I noted that the sun belt swayed up and down from solstice to solstice in a minute or less, and that consequently my pace was over a year a minute. And minute by minute, the white snow flashed across the world and vanished, and was followed by a bright, brief green of spring. I probably didn't do it justice, but I could talk about this scene and chapter for hours. If there's any part of the book you should read, it's just this scene. You honestly don't need any context. And it's only 6 pages.
They went back and assimilated Earth, changed history. I must follow them back. Repair whatever damage they've done.
This beginning has me really excited for the rest of the book. While certain parts drug slightly, and it has a distinctly old-timey feel, it is so well written that those parts feel quaint rather than annoyingly tropey. As I mentioned in the Chapter 3 overview, this description of time travel is probably one of the most beautiful descriptions I've ever heard. And it really makes me wish that more of the modern incarnations kind of stuck with this idea of traveling through time rather than just snapping or teleporting there. Some works, like Doctor Who, do have a semblance of travel where they go through the time vortex, but that abstracts the journey and obscures everything between the start and finish. While neat, I think that this is much cooler, but that might just be a preference thing. All in all, it exceeded my expectations, and I cannot wait to read more. If you're interested, check out the VOD for the first stream, and keep an eye out for the next one where I read the middle third of the book. That should be coming in the next few weeks or so. I did originally want to put them much closer together, but I'm in the middle of moving, so it's not as easy to set up stream as it was when I first did this. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.